In this video, I'll be sharing with you a tutorial on how to cut this simple blazer top. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. And this dress is by Locks by FM on Instagram. So to start, I'm going to start by marking my basic measurement. I'll mark my shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, and top length or blouse length. So go ahead to take any blouse length of your choice, or you can add 5 inches after your waistline. Now I'll mark 1 inch for the button allowance of this dress. Now you can use 1.5 inches also if you don't want to use 1 inch. And remember that you're going to be turning this with your lining. Now I'll go ahead and mark out this button allowance in front of this dress, which will be overlapping to the other side of the dress. I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2. I'll go ahead to place my tape and mark, and also mark a basic neckline of 3 inches. From that 1 inch, I'll connect to the neckline of 3 inches, and I'll come down by 3 inches. So the basic neckline I'm using is the 3 inches by 3 inches. Right now I'll extend it to that of the button allowance in front. Now I'm going to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I have 7 inches, which I went ahead to draw out a straight line at that point. I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2 again. Now I'll connect it to the upper part of the shoulder. I'll go in and I'm going to place my tape and divide what I have here into 2. That is the armhole area. I'll divide it into 2, come out by ½ inch, and I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. Your chest line is also your armhole line. Now I'll place my ruler and I'm going to go ahead to connect from my bust circumference divided by 4 to the ½ inch at the armhole and to the upper part of my shoulder. Now after I'm done marking this, the next step you want to take is to go ahead to outline. I also went ahead to outline the button area of this dress. Now after I'm done doing this, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to start marking my dart for my princess dart bustier. Now to mark that, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, starting from the button allowance. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2, which I have 3.5. I marked this on the bust, under bust, waist, and the blouse length. Now place your ruler and you're going to connect a straight line starting from the bust down to the blouse length of your dress. So please, I'm sorry for the background noise, it is actually my neighbors. So now go ahead to divide my armhole into 2. That is the midpoint of your armhole, and what you're going to do is to place your curved drill connecting from that midpoint of your armhole all the way to the bust of your pattern. After I'm done connecting, I'll just blend out the sharp edge I have there. Now for the dart intake here, I'll mark ½ inch on both sides and I'm going to go ahead to blend it in. I'll also repeat this on the other side of my pattern, right? Now after I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead and use my marker and I'm going to blend in. Now after I'm done blending in, we are now going to work on the under bust area. I'll mark ½ inch here, 1.5 here, ½ inch here, 1.5 at the other side. Let's say you're a plus size, you will use 1 inch here and 2 inches on the other side. Or you can decide to use your basic princess dart pattern for this blouse, which you just go ahead to use your normal basic dart of ½ inch on both sides and then go ahead to connect it down. So I'll just go ahead and place my ruler and I'm going to connect. Now I'll go ahead to connect from the bust to the under bust. So I'm not going to make this too pointy or like to give it a deep curve, because this is more like a blazer blouse, so I don't want it to have like that bustier, deep bustier effect. So I'll just go ahead to blend this out and I'll use my marker to outline the rest of my pattern. So I'll go ahead to measure that dart intake I have here, which is ½ inch on both sides, giving me 1 inch. I'll extend it down to the lower part. So why I'm extending this part is that most times when you're joining your princess dart from the center to the side tends to look a bit shorter. Now I'll insert my measurements. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace, and I'll add the sewing allowance. Now I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure these 2 inches dart intake and replace. Go down to my waistline, mark my waist circumference divided by 4, replace these 2 inches and add my sewing allowance. The blouse length, I'll go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, then I'll add my sewing allowance. Now I'll place my ruler and I'm going to connect. I'm going to connect from the bust to the under bust to the waist, and from the waist down to the blouse length. So after I'm done connecting, I'll go ahead to outline. After outlining, I'll move over to marking my bust dart. Now for my bust dart, to get this is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17, while my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5. If you take out 15.5 from 17, you're going to have 1.5. So I will mark that and also outline my waistline. Now I will blend in my darts because we are drawing this part that slanted over to the side, and I will go ahead to connect all the way down. So after connecting on this side of this pattern, I'll just blend it out a little. Now we are going to come up by the side of this pattern, so you can use 1.5 to 2 inches if you want. Come up by 1.5 inches and I'll just blend it out a little by ½ inch underneath it. So after I'm done drafting, what I'm going to do is just to go ahead to cut out this pattern. So at this point, if you have any question, please kindly leave your question at the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please kindly hit on the subscribe button. When cutting the side, remember to blend out your dart so that the chest line or the bust area will match that of the under bust. Now I'll just go ahead and cut this out, and I'll also cut out the rest of my pattern. And after cutting out, this is what I have. Now we'll be moving over to the back pattern. The back pattern is very simple and easy. You don't have to do much. Now this is my chest line. This is my shoulder to waist for the back, which is 15.5, and I added extra 5 inches because the blouse length I'm using is 5 inches after my waistline at the front part of my dress. Now I'm going to go ahead to mark my dart. I'll start marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches, which I marked starting from the bust to the waist and to the blouse length, right? So after marking this, I'll just go ahead to add my basic dart intake of ½ inch, come down by 1 inch at this point, and I'll go ahead to connect this all the way up and also connect on the other side of my pattern. Now I'll just place my ruler and I'll take this down. Your dart at the lower part should be about 4 inches to 5 inches. So now I used 4 inches. Now I'll insert my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. Now I will mark my hip circumference divided by 4 at my blouse length, and I'll go ahead to add my sewing allowance. So after I'm done adding this, I'll go ahead to place my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead to connect this starting from the waist to the blouse length. The side of my pattern, I'm going to come up by 1.5 or 2 inches just like we did for the front. Now from there, I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the blouse length of this dress. Now after connecting, this is what I have. The back is very simple. Now if you want to add a princess dart effect, you can also do that for the back. For the neckline, I use the basic neckline of 3 by 1 inch for this pattern, and I will go ahead to connect. Now after I'm done connecting, I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut out the rest of my pattern. Now after I was done cutting out the back pattern, I gave it a princess dart cut, and that will be at the ending part of this video. Now at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please kindly hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also leave your comment at the comment section. And you can also follow me on my other channel, which is Marky's Closet. There I post both drafting and sewing tutorial. So you can sew out your dart Or if you want to give this a princess dart effect, connect from here to the midpoint of your armhole and go ahead to cut out this pattern. And after you're done cutting out this pattern, this is what I have for today's tutorial. Join us in our next video. Thanks.